Hi, and welcome to Extreme Whitetail Tactics. A lot of people like to talk in absolutes about whitetail hunting. Some guys will tell you they always hunt 30 feet up. Some guys will tell you they always hunt off the ground. The truth of the matter is, if you want to be a successful whitetail hunter, you need to be adaptable. You need to be able to go into an area and look at the best situation. Sometimes that's 10 feet off the ground, sometimes that's 30 feet off the ground, sometimes that's on the ground. You have to adapt. You have to be where that window is that whitetail moves in daylight on grounds you can hunt them. With that said, I prefer being in a tree. You have huge advantages of being in a tree. Most of the time on the ground, no matter how well I'm hidden, eventually that deer smells or sees me, and your only hope is that the target buck comes through first and you get that shot opportunity before he notices you. But with that said, there are times when you got to hunt off the ground. I can remember once having to dig a hole in a grass field because that was my window of opportunity, and I shot 2 bucks out of that hole in the field with no cover. You got to do what you got to do. So let's join Mario Traficante as he gets down and dirty with bucks on the ground.
Hunted a little tiny island tonight. That's in the middle of some cattails. And to the southwest, it's got a really thick patch of bedding. That's just a tangle of red brush and buckthorn, swamp grass. It's really thick in there. In order to access this with a southwest wind, I got to walk about a mile loop all the way around and transition across a bigger island and then some swamp grass to get to this spot. There's a pretty heavy trail that transitions between this small island and the bigger island. Typically we'll hunt that point. So I decided to push in. I had hunted this from a stand last year, and it's pretty thick in there, and it's really easy to make a lot of noise. So we had 14-mile-an-hour winds today. With the wind cover, I decided to slide in and hunt on the ground. When I got close to the island, I bumped a small doe off the north tip of it. She was bedded more out in the swamp grass. But as I got closer, I started to see a heavy trail that followed that east transition of the island. So I slowly followed that transition until I got about a quarter of the way into the island. That's about where I wanted to set up. What I noticed before I entered the island, that transition cut perpendicular across the island, and you could see that deer had been traveling that. The ground was softer and it was pretty torn up. So based on the wind, I hugged the inside of that trail because I didn't want to get my scent across it. And I walked through some of the tangle of buckthorn and red brush. There's some corridors through there that you can kind of snake your way through. And I set myself up on a little spot where I could see out into the clearing. The island opens up on the tip of it, on the south tip of it a little. And I set up there. Threw the homemade ghillie suit on. I got a leafy jacket, and then a camo burlap shawl that I can throw over that's cut up, but it works pretty good to conceal and cover like that. Early on, didn't see much. It was pretty quiet again. It was windy. You couldn't hear much movement in there. But about an hour and a half or so before dark, the wind started to die down. I caught movement out in front of me, and there was a small forkhorn buck that's worked his way onto the transition of the island, but he kept in the thick. He was only about 30 yards from me, but it would have been a tough shot if another buck traveled that path, just because I could just make out his rack as he was walking by, but he passed me probably about 15 yards at its tightest point. Then about 15 minutes later, I hear more movement to my southwest, where I suspect, and from previous years, there's been really good bedding. he couldn't really figure out what I was. He turned and he slowly walked broadside right in front of me. It was a pretty cool hunt. But this particular island, if I would have been up in a tree, because there's a lot of short, smaller trees there with not a whole lot of cover, I really would have been silhouetted when these bucks came out. So that's why I chose to sit on the ground back in the thicket. And it paid off. I mean, if I wanted to shoot that buck, he was at 10 yards broadside. It would have been a little pitch shot to hit him. Fortunately, he moved by me, was unalarmed, continued to walk across the island. Sat till dark. I had a few bucks that were sparring to my south. I could hear them out in the swamp, which is a good sign we're starting to get things moving. But they were sparred. They sparred for about 20 minutes. I heard some other movement and bedding, some sticks breaking, but nothing else entered onto the tip of the island. So it was another good hunt. Learned some more about what's roaming around the area. And you know, sometimes you got to hunt on the ground. And access is everything. If I would have tried accessing that from any other spot, I would have bumped the bedding area, or my wind would have got into the island or bedding area before I got there. So taking that nice big mile hike all the way around is what allowed me to hunt that spot like I did. But it was a fun hunt, and these next couple weeks are going to get really good. So, hunt like a beast. See ya.
Hi, I'm Dan Infalt, and I won't be on this earth forever. And I hope my time spent here makes a lasting impact for those that'll be here after me. You can make an impact too. Whenever you have a chance, take a kid hunting, fishing, or camping, and make a difference in their life.
What do you got there?
This is a carp. They're big, very heavy, close to 50 pounds, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's big.
The last one was probably bigger than that, right?
Yeah.
And the last one you reeled in yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do that in those heavy rapids?
Oh, it was hard.
Okay, put it down.
Oh.
Show me your cool necklace.
I also got this
Wow, where'd you get that?
from you.
That looks Indianish.
I know, right?
Cool. So what do you think it is?
The fish?
Yeah. Cool?
Yeah, it's big. My blood on me again.
Can you yank that bow back, shoot one yourself? Too heavy?
Huh?
Can you shoot one yourself, or is it too heavy? The bow?
I think I might be able to, but it might be heavy.
Okay. You pulled that whole fish in yourself.
I mean, how hard can the bow be?
Right.
Well, let's give it a shot.
All right.
I will be on YouTube.